He was short, had bad eyesight, and his hearing, well, that was going bad as well. And he was only 24 years old. His name was Rodger Young, and he was the opposite of what Hollywood would like you to believe a hero looks like. Yet on one day, in the dark, dank jungles of New Georgia Island in the Pacific, he would become one of America's greatest heroes. Hello and welcome to The Ultimate Sacrifice, created by Bill Reisen. I'm your host, Louis Marsh, pastor of River Church here in Parker, Arizona. Glad that you're with us. Please stay tuned because this story is something else. And at the end, you're going to get to hear a hit song from World War II that was written about Rodger Young. Young was born on April 28, 1918, in Tiffin, Ohio, to Nicholas and Esther Young. He had 4 siblings, 3 brothers, and 1 sister. For much of his early life, Young lived in the town of Green Springs, Ohio, but later in his childhood, he and his family moved to Clyde, Ohio. Throughout his childhood, Young enjoyed hunting, which improved his marksmanship skills. Although a small-statured boy, Young was a keen athlete. While at high school, Young tried out for his school's football team. He was not accepted at first, but eventually, Young's efforts and enthusiasm in practices persuaded the coach to allow him to play in some games. During a high school basketball game, Young received a serious head injury after contact with an opponent. The incident led to significant but gradual damage to his hearing and his eyesight. Because of this, Young had to drop out of high school in his sophomore year, at which point his hearing and vision loss had progressed severely. Looking for ways to earn extra income and thinking that because of his health issues he would fail the normal Army medical exam, Young applied for the Ohio National Guard in 1939. Now, despite his poor eyesight and hearing, Young was accepted and posted to B Company, 148th Infantry Regiment of the 37th Infantry Division. Although Young was the shortest man in his company and wore glasses, he was considered a good soldier by his peers. In October 1940, a year after joining the National Guard, Young and his unit were activated for federal service as part of America's preparation for World War II. At that time, Young was a corporal, training new recruits in small arms handling. Following a promotion to sergeant, Young was assigned to lead an infantry squad, and in 1942, soon after America's entry into the war, the 148th embarked for Fiji in the Pacific, and after that, to the nearby Solomon Islands for training prior to deployment against the Japanese-held islands of New Georgia. Now, New Georgia is one of the many islands that make up the Solomon Islands and is part of what the Americans called the Slot. It was called the Slot because the Solomon Islands consist of 2 chains of islands that are kind of parallel side by side, more or less, and they're separated by a sea channel that averages about 20 miles wide. The sea between the two became known as the Slot. After defeating the Japanese on Guadalcanal, American forces began to advance up the Slot towards their ultimate objective of Rabaul, which was the major Japanese port in that area. They worked their way through the islands of New Georgia and then on to Bougainville, which was near Rabaul. By the time Young's unit was about to ship out to New Georgia, his hearing and eyesight had deteriorated to the point where, taking into account the safety of those under him, Young requested a demotion to private, which would render him unable to command a squad. When Young submitted this request to the company commander, the commander initially thought that Young was malingering in order to avoid combat. However, a medical examination carried out soon afterwards determined that Young was nearly deaf, which convinced the commander to demote him. The examining doctor recommended Young go to a field hospital for treatment. However, not wanting to miss the action, Young said no. He wanted to go to New Georgia. He requested to remain with his squad, and his commander accepted his request. 9 days into the Battle of Munda Point, on July 31st, Young was assigned to a 20-man patrol sent out around 4 p.m. to reconnoiter Japanese territory. After achieving their objective, the patrol was returning to the American lines when they were ambushed by 5 Japanese soldiers. Heavy fire from the enemy, who were concealed in a machine gun pit about 75 yards away on higher ground, prevented further movement forward of the patrol. 2 soldiers were killed in the initial burst, and Young himself was wounded. During an attempt to flank the withdrawal, Young, ignoring the order to withdraw and his wound, began crawling towards the Japanese position. Another machine gun burst wounded Young a second time, but he continued his advance, drawing the enemy fire away from the squad and onto himself. As Young drew closer to the machine gun pit, he began to throw grenades at them as well, wounding or killing most of the soldiers inside the position. But Young was soon hit once more by enemy fire, and he was killed. Because of his actions, Young's platoon was able to withdraw from the ambush without any further casualties. On January 17, 1944, at Fort Knox, Kentucky, Major General Charles Scott presented the Medal of Honor to Young's family. Today, Young lies buried at the McPherson Cemetery, Clyde, Ohio. His medal rests at the Rutherford B. Hayes Presidential Center in Fremont, Ohio. Now, the story of Rodger Young had a huge impact on the folks back home in the United States, so big that a song was written about it by Frank Lesnar, who was working with the Army to come up with music that might help recruitment. And this song is still sung at times today. You can listen to it online. In fact, you can listen to it right here in just a minute. I'm going to read you some of the script and wrap the show up, and then we're going to play for you the entire song so you can enjoy it yourself. The Ballad of Rodger Young is the name, and here's some of the lyrics. Oh, they've got no time for glory in the infantry. Oh, they've got no use for praises loudly sung, but in every soldier's heart in all the infantry shines the name of Rodger Young. Caught in an ambush lay a company of riflemen, just grenades against machine guns in the gloom. Caught in an ambush till one of 20 riflemen volunteered to meet his doom. It was he who drew the fire of the enemy, that a company of men might live to fight, and before the deadly fire of the enemy stood the man, Rodger Young. On an island of New Georgia in the Solomons stands a simple wooden cross alone to tell that beneath the silent coral of the Solomons sleeps a man remembered well. No, they've got no time for glory in the infantry. No, they've got no use for praises loudly sung, but in every soldier's heart in the infantry shines the name of Rodger Young. Unquote. And so ends the story of Rodger Young, a young man who could have easily gotten out of the Army and certainly could have been posted to a non-combat position, but he didn't. He cared enough about his men that he knew when he was no longer fit to lead them, but he still stayed to fight by their side. And when the order to withdraw came, he not only held his own ground, but advanced on the enemy to draw all their fire on him and to save his buddies. And you don't get any braver than that. My name's Louis Marsh, Senior Pastor of River Church, your host for this show. Thank you so much for being here. Right over here, you can see the QR code for my other podcast, Tales from the Scrypt, where Bible stories and archaeology and history come together, and you can see just how accurate these Bible stories are. And as I like to say, you might just be surprised. And now, we're going to play for you in its entirety the song, The Ballad of the Rodger Young, as it was sung by West Point Chorale or choir of some kind. This is an old recording, but I think you can hear it and enjoy it if you'd like to. So enjoy. Please subscribe and like, and we'll be back next week. So join us then.
Oh, they've got no time for glory in the infantry. Oh, they've got no use for praises loudly sung. But in every soldier's heart in all the infantry shines the name the name of Rodger Young.
Caught in ambush lay a company of riflemen, just grenades against machine guns in the blue. Caught in ambush tells a squad of 20 riflemen, volunteer to meet his doom. Volunteer, Rodger Young, fought and died for the men he marched among. In the everlasting annals of the infantry, was the last deed of Private Rodger Young.
On the island of New Georgia in the Solomons stands a simple wooden cross alone to tell that beneath the silent crown of the Solomons sleeps a man remembered well.
Sleeps a man, Rodger Young, fought and died for the men he marched among. In the everlasting spirit of the infantry is the spirit of Private Rodger Young. Though they've got no time for glory in the infantry, no, they've got no use for praises loudly sung, but in every soldier's heart